What's up, what's up, what's up? Scott here with Dagic. We're going to do a long form deck tech on Composite Golem Pauper EDH deck. Um, yeah, it's technically a 5 color deck, but we don't run any white, so it's a 4 color Seeker Scrounger Combo based shell. Um, yeah, we're trying to win, trying to draw cards, trying to counter some spells. It's an evolution of the Rocco Seeker Scrounger deck that I've talked about before. We add blue so we can draw cards and counter spells mostly. Also, to search. We add the blue and the black so we get access to all the transmute spells, freed from the real lines, counter spells, treasure cruise, just a bunch of good stuff that comes with doing that. And we can play a more traditional game of Magic instead of just sitting there hoping to force through a combo without any real any real any real protection of our own, so to speak. We don't have any counters in red, green, white outside of like Mana Tithe, so um, if you go for the combo and somebody has a counter spell, you just lose. Now, you see, I won a tournament this past weekend with this deck, and uh, having access to the defensive counter spells was definitely the difference. Had I shown up with Rocco, I would have just been sitting there getting stifled by one of my 3 opponents game after game after game, and it would not have gone well. So we're gonna go over this. It's gonna be kind of long. We'll do a shorter one that touches on the highlights later, but this is gonna be kind of long form. So buckle up. It's a good ride. It's a good deck. It's fun. It's got a lot going for it. It's sort of like piecing a puzzle together, which is a fun way to play for me at least. I enjoy that. You look at your hand, and you've got different pieces, different options, and you gotta calculate the odds on the fly. Like, all right, do I want to play a looter or a ramp spell, or am I heading towards a combo right now, or do I want to just stack up defensive spells? Do I want to transmute for a combo piece and let everybody know I'm about to combo? Or do I just want to sit back and wait? Do I have time to wait? Do I have the life I need to wait? You know, there's a lot of thinking involved while playing the deck. Keeping in mind what your opponents are doing. Um, if they're leaving a bunch of blue up, like, you probably have to sit there. If there's a black, if there's a guy playing black, you might have snuff out. You gotta keep that in mind. It's very real. So we're gonna go over the deck. We're gonna go over all the cards in the deck, and then later we'll post a shorter form with the highlights, and then tomorrow we're gonna go over the tournament as a whole. But for now, just sit back and enjoy the ride. So obviously, Composite Golem, 6 mana, artifact creature golem, 4/4, sacrifice Composite Golem, add 5 colors to your mana pool. So this card is just solid, right? It's a solid card. That's it. It's not exciting, but it's solid, right? So, you can play your 4/4. 4/4 is a decent stat line for a pauper. It's not like a threatening card that somebody's gonna like hurry up and remove. So nobody's gonna be like, we gotta get rid of that card. So a lot of times I find myself just casting my commander, casually, and so you play it on 6, and then on 7 you might have 12 mana available. Like, that's a lot. Like, it's reasonably threatening, but it's not to the point where, like, oh my god, you're now the guy at the table. No, you just have a 4/4. 4/4 can block most things. I used it to stop third path tokens, right? Like, you didn't want to attack me because I could kill the third path or the tokens. Like, it's just solid, okay? And it can work as a combo piece. It can do a lot of things, but ultimately it's just like a solid card. It's kind of like right, this is, a reach. It's a stretch, but it's like Golos, right? You played Golos because you wanted 5 colors, and the card was just good on its own. Like, it did a thing. That thing didn't necessarily have to have anything to do with the rest of your deck, but it added 5 colors, and the card was solid. That's it. There's other 5-color options. Flesh Former is decent. You know, it has like a pseudo removal spell, but it forces you to play white, right? That's the thing about Flesh Former. If you want to use it, you have to play all 5 colors. There's a couple others. There's a red one that like just pumps itself, similar to the Flesh Former. There's like a 3/3 that is all colors that does nothing else. The rest of them are just not, you know, they're not as solid as Composite Golem is. So we went with Composite Golem. We worked its activated ability into its combo lines, and you know it works. There's no 4-color option available in Pauper EDH, so you know there's no partners you can set up. You can't. It's either 5 colors or not. You know, there's no in between. There's probably like a 3-color one, but we need red, green, and blue bare minimum, and we really want the black. So for now, Composite Golem's the guy till we get a 4-color uncommon creature. It's gonna be Composite Golem, I think, or Flesh Former. You're free to try Flesh Former. It's good. If you can make infinite mana, you can like sweep the board and attack somebody for, you know, however much damage you want, kill them with commander damage, whatever. Flesh Former's cool. I ain't gonna knock Flesh Former, but it's one of those two, really. Alright, next up we have our combo, Seeker Scrounger. I've talked about this a bunch. You back up the Seeker Skybreak with the Hanger Scrounger's ability, and then you tap Seeker Skybreak targeting itself over and over and over again. You draw through your deck, you rummage through your deck, you discard the draw, and you assemble pieces of a combo that way. So it's like a, you know, I call it a 2-card combo, because once you assemble these 2 cards, like the game's over. That's when the game ends. You know, if your opponents have seen it before, you don't have to go through the motions. If they're comfortable just calling it, and you don't have to go through the motions. But you use this to draw through your deck and assemble the combo. And we'll go through the rest of the combo, just not yet. We're touching on a couple different things here. We add blue in Composite Golem, and we get Tidewater Minion as our redundant Seeker of Skybreak. Right, so that right off the bat, we have this huge bonus, and that Tidewater Minion is a functional Seeker Skybreak. It costs 5, of course, but it's also a 4/4. You know, you can pay 4 to attack. That has never come up for me, but you know, having more Seeker Skybreaks is huge, right? Because it's easy to get rid of a Seeker Skybreak. If it gets killed and then you get Bajuka Bogged, like you're done. That's it in Rocco. Like that's the whole game. You lose. But we have Tidewater Minion here to function as our backup. And it's the same thing. Hanger Scrounger backing up Tidewater Minion. It's the exact untapped target permanent. I think Seeker Skybreak says untapped target creature. I don't remember. But yeah, they function the same. The combo's exactly the same with both of them. And you don't have to worry about nothing. If Seeker gets going, you're like, okay, I'll just go find Tidewater. And Tidewater having Defender is actually a bit of a bonus, because later on we'll touch on some of our search cards. There's a searcher for creatures with Defender. So we get an extra upsided search card that we didn't have in Rocco. And I'm going to compare to Rocco a lot, because Rocco is sort of like the OG in this situation. I spent a lot of time working on Rocco, and this is where we've ended up. So I'm going to compare to Rocco a lot, because I think Rocco is a very good deck, but it's a very glass cannon deck. It's your glass cannon. What's the card? Anyway, you know, it's like Dredge. Yeah, it's not like Dredge, but it's the same idea. Like, you play Dredge, and if they go, oh, rest in peace, then you probably lose. That's Rocco. Composite Golem is not that way. It's the same combo, sort of like Reanimator compared to Dredge, right? You throw cards in your graveyard. If somebody plays a rest in peace, well, okay, well then you just play sort of a normal game. You hope to get enough mana, cast some big stuff, yada yada yada. So we've got the rest of the combo. So when we're gonna rummage through our whole deck, right? We're gonna put a Dread Return in the graveyard. We're gonna put a Fuming Effigy in the graveyard. We're gonna put a Shenanigans in the graveyard, and we're gonna put a Felden's Cane in our hand. Right? We're gonna cast Dread Return, targeting Fuming Effigy. Fuming Effigy comes back. We're going to cast our Felden's Cane. We're going to rummage one more time to get Shenanigans into our hand. And then we're going to shuffle our graveyard into our library, and we're going to deal 1 damage to every single person for each card in our library. So like 80 damage probably to everybody. Excuse me. So yeah, usually roughly 80 damage. If you need more, there's ways to do more, but like I don't have to worry about anything way is just simply this. Now you need 3 creatures for Dread Return, obviously, which can be hard sometimes. It's not usually. Hanger Scrounger's a freebie, and you probably have some looters or a mana dork, right? So the deck has some unearthed creatures to fill in the gaps. So you cast Dread Return, Fuming Effigy, Dread Shenanigans over and over again. 1 damage for every card in your library. Backup combos. We added blue, which means we get one of the most powerful combo cards in the format. We get Freed from the Real. Right, so Freed from the Real can go on any creature that can make at least a blue, but 2 mana and one of them's got to be blue. Freed from the Real can go on that creature, and that makes infinite mana. Alternatively, Freed from the Real can equip a creature that makes 1 blue and operate as another redundant Seeker of Skybreak. Right, so at least one time during the tournament, I put a Freed from the Real on an Oasis Ritualist. I did not have the cards in hand I needed to, I didn't have like an X spell or a Replicate spell or something to win with infinite mana, but I was able to go get Hanger Scrounger. So I put Hanger Scrounger on the Oasis Ritualist that also had the Freed from the Real on it, and I had infinite mana and infinite rummage. Easy peasy. We play some bounce lands, so anything that can untap a land, Clever Conjurer, Vizier of Tumbling Sands, can potentially be a infinite mana combo piece with Freed from the Real. Upside of Composite Golem #2 is that it is a 4-power creature, so if you can get it out, it will turn on Elysian Caryatid. Fleshformer won't necessarily. You'd have to pump it once. One of the differences. So our commander turns on Caryatid. Corrosive Restore needs Threshold, which is trivial for the most part. Yeah, and we make infinite mana, and then you hopefully have a Transmute spell or a Mystical Teachings in the graveyard or something, somewhere to go with infinite mana, and you end the game from there. Last note, Clever Conjurer and Vizier of Tumbling Sands can, if you get them both out, they can untap each other to operate as a Seeker of Skybreak. Right, so you get 2 untappers. Let's say another target permanent, they can untap each other back and forth, and then Hanger Scrounger can go on one of those, whichever one you want. It's less common, it's less effective, it takes more cards, but it is there, it's an option if that's what the gods decide, and that's what your hand looks like, then that's what you go with. You play the Conjurer, then you play the Vizier, and you just keep untapping. But, these cards are all just good. Like, they don't have to be combo pieces, and that's, like Fuming Effigy and Shenanigans, they're combo pieces. Hanger Scrounger is combo piece, right? It's not doing a whole lot. But these are just mana dorks, right? They work as mana dorks. You just play them out and mana dork them. If you need to get them back from the graveyard later, we have ways to do that. But they're just mana dorks. They just sit there, and if you draw Freed, cool. If you don't, cool. Clever Conjurer can work as a looter. It can be a ramp spell or a mana dork. It can be whatever you want it to be, really, whatever's available to you. And Vizier is cool because you can cycle it, you get a card out of it, untap a permanent, it costs 1, maybe you untap a bounce land, and it's just a 0 mana cantrip. Like, that's fine. We want to get through our deck. Like, that's a huge part of the thing, is getting through the deck. We have to find the transmute spells and the combo pieces, and the counter spells and the interaction. So we got to find a lot of stuff. So getting through your deck is huge. And so having cards that can double up on what they're doing is also huge. We want our combo pieces. You don't want to have to sit on too many combo pieces. They gum up your hand. They don't do anything until you're ready. You don't have that much time to just have a bunch of dead cards in your hand. So being able to just drop your mana dorks and it also potentially become a combo piece is huge. And then, freed from the real, it's just a busted card. I guess it's busted in half, right? Blue, untap this creature. And we don't take advantage of it in any non-infinite ways, which is something we might want to look into for the future, but that's okay. It's a combo piece. I guess you could put it on a mana dork and filter your blue into other colors if you needed to. It seems underwhelming, but it is available because we play mostly blue. We play like 12 islands and seven split amongst the other three colors. So it's almost all islands. So you might find yourself needing to filter blue into other colors. So that's something you can do. It's not the best thing, but it's something. All right, next up we got the other stuff, right? So we made infinite mana with Freed from the Real. How do we win? Well, Disturbed Burial will let us keep getting back a cycling creature from the graveyard, right, to draw. So that lets us draw our whole deck to find something else we can use to win. Generally speaking, that something is Stream of Thoughts. If we have truly infinite mana, Stream of Thoughts will, you just replicate it, however many times you want and mill everybody, right? It gets around protection, damage prevention. It's a great finisher, Stream of Thoughts. And it's also our way of shuffling cards back into our library, right? So Rocco plays Felden King, obviously, but it also plays Campfire so that it can get through its deck 2 or 3 times. Stream of Thoughts, however, lets us do it as many times as we want. If one of the cards we put back is Reclaim and we can draw forever and we have infinite mana, like we'll find Reclaim to get the Stream of Thoughts back, and then we'll cast the Stream of Thoughts and put the Reclaim back, and we'll eventually draw the Reclaim and repeat forever. So you can kind of like slow roll the Stream of Thoughts if you need to for whatever reason. Alternatively, again, you can just Draenus Stinger, which I don't know why that disappeared on me. We can Draenus Stinger, and then the Disturbed Burial, bringing back a cycling. All right, so you play the Draenus Stinger, and then you Disturb Burial back the Draenus Stinger. You draw your cards until you find a second cycling creature. Then you cast the Draenus Stinger, and then you can repeatedly cycle the next one for infinite damage. And you might want that to be, that can be like an Oliphant, right? Something that can fail to find. Because if it's a draw spell, then again, you're limited to the number of cards in your deck. Until you find Stream of Thoughts, maybe Stream of Thoughts is gone, whatever. But you can use like Oliphant to make it a truly infinite amount of damage. Because that'll trigger Draenus Stinger, you fail to find, or you can't find. There's only one mountain. And your deck doesn't get smaller, you just keep doing it. There's no May on a cycle. You can't like cycle and not draw. So. And Disturb Burial is just a great card. 5 mana to get back one of our spells, or just 2. We'll get it back out of the graveyard when we need it. But yeah, Disturb Burial is great on its own. Draenus Stinger is fine. 1 mana. Put it in the graveyard, right? It's a creature in the graveyard, which is good for like Songs of the Damned, Unearth, Threshold for Crozen Restorer. Just being able to cantrip a card for 1 mana is a baseline decent, right? So Draenus Stinger is a baseline decent card. It's also a finisher. It's also a 2/2, which can block 1/X's. It's a good card. Stream of Thoughts is lower on the this is baseline good, but you need it. You need something that can put the cards back in your library, and you need like that backup plan. You need that because we didn't have room. We don't yet have room for the prevention spell that is eluding me. It's like 1 in a red, has flashback. It prevents the damage, can't be prevented. So we don't have room for that yet. So if somebody plays like a prismatic and you can't get the red damage through anymore, you need another way to win the game. Otherwise, you just have to like stop comboing off and hope the turn comes back around and that you can bounce your Hanger Scrounger to your hand and try again. It doesn't work. So you definitely want that, like, you know, because our both of our lines here, our Draenei Stinger and our Fuming Effigy, are red. So like if somebody turns off red damage, it's not like we can switch to the other one. You know, so Stream of Thoughts is our backup plan. There's a couple of ways you can mix in, like there's a couple black finishers. There's an exploit creature that'll work as like a, if you need like a fourth plan, or maybe that would be plan C and Stream of Thoughts would be plan D, you know, at that point. But right now Stream of Thoughts is our plan C. Right, it goes Fuming Effigy, Draenei Stinger, Stream of Thoughts. And these are the cyclers we touched on. We play the whole, well, not the whole. We play the whole suite of Lord of the Rings cycling creatures: Oliphant, Troll of Khazad-dûn, and Generous Ent, because they're so good. Viscera Dragger has Unearth. It's one of those Unearth cards we touched on to help power our Dread Return. And then Jesse and Zombies is sort of it's a creature, and it has land cycling. That's it, really. You know, it being a 2/4 with Fear for 6 is not good, but it can get an island or a swamp or dual land. And here's the thing about the math, right? If I Oliphant for 1 and play a tap land, right, I'm out of mana and a land drop. But if I Jesse and Zombies for 2 and play an island, right, I'm only down. I'm in the same spot I started in. Right, I'm down a land. I'm down a mana and a land drop. So, right, yeah, it cost me 1. It cost me 2, and I have 1 available, or it cost me 1 and I have none available. Right, that's the same math if you get a basic with Jesse and Zombies. So, it's sort of our extra cycler. Now we have Lorien Revealed, right, in there. It's not a creature, and these are creatures. These are the list of cycling creatures that can interact favorably with Draenei Stinger in that Disturbed Burial line. And we needed more creatures, right? So we grabbed another creature. We also play Brainstorm, so we want to maximize as much as possible the amount of search cards we have. So we're trying out Jesse and Zombies in this spot. It's sort of like a flex slot, right? Like it doesn't do anything except search for an island or a swamp, really, because this is a bad creature. These other 3 are all good creatures. They're all 1 mana cyclers, right? And Viscera Dragger is great at powering out a Dread Return. Jesse and Zombie does none of that stuff. So it's a flex spot. It's kind of like a deep cut. You're really looking for a very specific effect, and maybe Jesse and Zombies isn't the best at that, but ultimately I didn't draw it at all in the course of my tournament, so I can't speak to whether the thought process was correct on the Jesse and Zombies, whether it's necessary. But I suspect it's fine. I don't know that there's a better card, right? You could do something different. Like if it's a ramp spell, like maybe that's better or not, but it doesn't fill the role, right? Maybe a Steve, right? Maybe a Steve would fill that role better because you can get a creature, you get a land out of it, and you still get the creature in the graveyard, maybe. And that's an actual ramp spell instead of just a land search, maybe. I don't know. They both cost 2. They, you know, one of these can be done at instant speed, right? Which is good. So there's a lot to unpack there. But this is the deck we ran. This is the deck as it stands right now. It has Jesse and Zombies in it. And our last section here is our Repository Scab and Songs of the Damned. So Repository Scab can be looped with Disturbed Burial and Composite Golem and Songs of the Damned to generate infinite mana of any color. Right? This is our deep combo, right? Deep combo, right? And it exists sort of by accident, right? Because Songs of the Damned is really good. We're easily putting creatures into our graveyard, so you know by turn 5 or 6, Songs of the Damned is going to be like +5 mana, +6 mana, right? And it leads to some explosive turns, right? You can Songs of the Damned into a transmute spell and have plenty of mana to play your entire combo in 1 turn. Or to just like ramp out Composite Golem, or to hardcast the Dread Return with counterspell mana early. So Songs of the Damned is just good. Plus you can find it with Mystical Teachings. Repository Scab is like weird. Like you could play like our Chaomancer, which doesn't kill itself, to get a card out of your graveyard, but we kind of like creatures in our graveyard, right? We have Disturbed Burial, we have Tortured Existence, we have Reclaim in our deck, so we kind of want Repository Scab in the graveyard. We want whatever spell we're grabbing back in our hand. It just happens that it also can be part of combo line, right? We would be playing Repository Scab either way, and Songs of the Damned either way, because obviously we would take +5, +6, +7 mana, and then at the end of a Seeker Scrounger line, if everything has gone to hell, we can generate infinite mana still with our Commander and our Repository Scab and our Songs of the Damned. To be more specific, so you cast Composite Golem, you sacrifice it, it's in the graveyard. You cast Songs of the Damned, you generate like 25 mana, because all your creatures are in the graveyard, right? You cast Repository Scab with the blue from Composite Golem, you get Songs of the Damned back, and then you cast Disturbed Burial twice, getting back Composite Golem and Repository Scab, and you're where you started, plus some amount of mana, right? I think it takes like 8, I think you need 18 to be 1 mana positive, and we probably have 20 creatures. So, you're more than 1 mana positive, but you're some amount of mana positive, and you can present this loop as generating infinite mana. And once it can generate infinite mana, then you can just say, all right, well, I'll just keep recasting my commander from the command zone to make it infinite mana of any color. Now, if for whatever reason you fizzle at this point, then your commander is going to have a very large commander tax, right? You'll have to pick a number because you're never casting Composite Golem again unless you make infinite mana again. But besides that, you generate infinite mana of any color this way. Your whole deck is in your graveyard, right? And from there you can, you hopefully held on to Felden's Cane. You can cane it back. Maybe there's a Mystical Teachings in there somewhere. Or maybe you cast Mystical Teachings and respond with Felden's Cane and start the whole thing. Get a Perplex, right? Find a 3-drop you want or something. Get a Muddle the Mixture so you can go get Drannith Stinger out of the deck. Any number of things from that point, but the idea is you can just accidentally make infinite mana with these, with Repository Scab, Songs of the Damned, Disturbed Burial, and I blanked. I truly blanked. Repository Scab, Songs of the Damned, Disturbed Burial, and Composite Golem. Hey, sometimes you blank. There's a lot of cards. The deck is tough, right? That's the idea. The deck is hard. It's hard to keep track of everything. So over the course of the entire tournament, I completely forgot that Mystic Sanctuary was in my deck. I drew and discarded crop rotation multiple times with plenty of islands available. And just completely forgot that I could like Mystic Sanctuary back a Treasure Cruise or something crazy. Just forgot. Because there's so many cards and they're all very specific. Like that's the thing. They're all like super narrow cards that are performing one specific purpose, ideally, right? And maybe have a couple like side jobs, right? But it's all very specific, and it's tough to keep track of, right? So you gotta. That's why the long form deck tech is the only one that's really gonna get the point across, right? Every card is necessary, right? It's hard to be like, oh, we should add. We keep doing this, right? Like I look at the Modern Horizons 3 spoilers and like, oh, we should add. The Basking card and Sadistic Glee. Like, we're already can find whatever we want. We can easily find a 2-drop creature. We can easily find Sadistic Glee. But what 2 cards to cut? What do we cut for another infinite mana combo, right? And it combos off with our commander for infinite mana of any color, right? Like, it's perfect. But which 2 cards got to go? Like, on this screen right now, what do you cut? Jesse and Zombies, maybe, for 1, and then every other card on the screen right now is like vital. Like you could maybe drop Drannith Stinger, right? You'll lose one of your plans. Maybe that's right for Sadistic Glee and the new basking guy. I don't know. It's tough. You like having Drannith Stinger. Now you lost a cantrip. You lost a Reaping the Graves target, right? Reaping the Graves is great if somebody like plays a couple spells, you just respond with Reaping the Graves. You get like 3 cycling creatures back from your graveyard, and you kind of like Treasure Cruised off of somebody else. But if you cut the cyclers, especially the 1 mana cyclers, then you lose that. And that's big. Is that worth another infinite mana combo? Maybe. I don't know. But I'm just saying the deck is full, right? It's tight. And if you cut one card, you usually have to cut like 3 others, which is in some ways good, but in some ways not good, because then those 3 cards, you might make other cards irrelevant, right? Like if you cut some of these, like Clever Conjurer and Vitiate Tumbling Sands aren't fantastic, but now you're down to like 3 freed targets. You probably want more than 3 freed from the real targets, right? And you're not cutting freed from the real because that's like one of your best cards. So it's tough. The deck is super tight. And it's hard to have that conversation like, oh, this card's sweet, we should add it. Okay, but what? But what do we cut? Because then we cut some support cards, and we got to add in new support cards. You got to remake the whole deck every time you want to like change up one little thing. All right, so we're going to move off the combo stuff. We're going to look at the support package, right? So we run 5 looters: Merfolk Looter, Looter of Core, Thought Courier, Reckless Scholar, and Cephalid Looter. 5 looters. 2 of them are 3-drops. They're less good, but 5 looters is a lot. Looter of Core, especially good at stealing Monarch and Initiative. I love this guy, right? Because we don't care if we give it back. Like, I don't care if somebody takes it. You know, if you attack me with a 1/1, take the Monarch. I don't want it. I just wanted that card. Give me the card. I looted, and I got a free card out of the deal. Somebody else can have it. You know, you don't have to alpha strike me. I'm not going to block. Don't have to leave yourself open to get the Monarch. You can have it. I just wanted the card, right? It's great. Has Shadow. Just gets in there. Merfolk Looter is a classic. Thought Courier is, I mean, it's the same card as Merfolk Looter, just a human wizard for some reason. Reckless Scholar and Cephalid Looter I don't love, but when you play them, you end up liking them. You're like, oh great, I have a looter. Now I get to see 2 cards a turn. I wish they were 1/2s instead of 2/1s. That would be huge. Being a 2/1, they're basically useless as blockers, right? I wish one of my looters in this price band here, in this sort of mana realm, had a 2-butt so I could block some 1/1s, because I was just seeing one of the other videos, the video about the tournament. I struggle with my life total just slowly dwindling down. Just slowly. People would attack me with 1/1s, and I'd be like, I can't block with my 2/1 looter. Like, I need that. Right? So everybody else is at 25, and I'm at 9. Because everybody was free. Like, they didn't have to swing with their 4/4s. They could all keep their wall up against each other, and they could just pop me for 1 or 2 a turn. Everybody. So by the time I get my turn again, I just took 6 more damage. But, you know, that's just a complaint, really. The looters are awesome. They fill your graveyard. They find your combo pieces. Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's what they do. They get the junk out of your hand. Like, you're going to make your land drop. So we have a lot of land cyclers. And then, like, at some point you just, like, stop worrying about your lands. You'd rather have another counter spell, or maybe you just want to discard a cycler because you don't have the mana for it at the moment. You know, they're great. 5 is a lot, but I think it's the right number, at least for now. You could cut the 3s. A couple of people working on the deck cut the 3-drop looters just because they're slow, and I get it. They're super slow. Like, they're not doing anything until turn 4. You know, maybe you could do something better with that turn 3 mana, but they have a high baseline goodness, right? Just like Draenei's thing. It's got a high baseline goodness. And that's kind of what the deck needs. You need a we can win the game out of nowhere, but we need a high level of baseline good cards just to stay alive. Right, so after the looters, this is our search package, right? We play 8 search cards outside of our land cyclers, which is a lot. Right, so we have, I mean, with our land cyclers, with our Lorien Revealed, which also, you know, we've got, 12, right? Plus our Jesse and Zombies for 13 search cards. 13. And the biggest upside to that is we get to play Brainstorm, right? Which is awesome, right? We can Brainstorm and almost Ancestral Recall, really. Which most decks can't. Brainstorm is like a medium card in Pauper EDH because you can't fetch away the cards you don't want, right? You brainstorm lock yourself often, but we have so many search cards, right? 10% of our deck, 13% of our deck, whatever it is search spells. Shield Wall Sentinel can get Tuk Tuk Rubble Fort or Tidewater Minion. Crop Rotation can get Mystic Sanctuary or Bounce Land, or like a Conduit Pylons get you a Surveil. It's just a lot of little things for 1 green at instant speed. Like, doesn't have to be like fantastic. It's medium, right? You know, you could run like Bajuka Bog if you were so inclined. I don't, but you could, you know, to have that like gotcha move. Crop Rotation it has a high baseline goodness, right? Perplex is not a great counter spell, right? But it's a transmute card. It gets a lot of 3s. Again, Tuk Tuk Rubble Fort, Freed from the Real, Hanger Scrounger, Merchant Scroll. Merchant Scroll is good because it costs 2, but it's not. It doesn't find like a lot of great stuff. It can only find blue instants, so a lot of times you'll find yourself getting either Mystical Teachings, Perplex, or Muddle the Mixture. So you can get, you know, 2 drops and 3 drops that are not instants. You know, you might get a Brainstorm. Maybe you'll get a counterspell or a piece of interaction. That's when it's best, but it's medium. It can't find any direct combo pieces, so it reads better than it plays, but it's necessary, right? I like Merchant Scroll for Mystical Teachings, right? Just like I have 2 extra blue. I'm just gonna go get a Mystical Teachings, and now I have a Mystical Teachings. Right? We usually end up with plenty of mana, so I can sit here, I can do a thing, I can keep Teachings, I can Teachings for a Crop Rotation, or a counter spell, or a bounce spell if it comes up, but I don't have to go get it early. I don't have to Merchant Scroll for Into the Royal and just have it just in case. No, I have Mystical Teachings, right? I just keep up 6 mana, you know, because I'm not doing much right now except cycling, drawing cards, looting, right? So I just keep up 6 mana and I don't have to preemptively do anything. Demir Infiltrators are 2-drop transmute. One of them can get Seeker Skybreak, mostly, right? That's our Seeker Skybreak. Gotcha. Dranis Stinger, counter spells, bunch of interaction pieces. Demir Infiltrator gets a ton of good stuff. Same with Muddle the Mixture, except Muddle the Mixture can actually operate as a halfway decent counter spell. Unlike Perplex, right? Muddle the Mixture, like, you don't want to just like fire off Muddle the Mixture if you don't have to. You can hold on to it as a real counterspell, but Perplex isn't going to save anything, because if you're about to win, somebody will just discard their hand to keep you from winning. So you don't want to just fire off the Muddle the Mixture. Drift of Phantasms, same as Perplex, except it's not an instant or a bad counterspell. It's a flying wall, which is relevant, could be relevant. I'm thinking back on my tournament, and I'm like, maybe there were times where I could have cast Drift of Phantasms instead of being like locked in on the transmute, and it would have saved me some life. So, yeah, it's mostly for the transmute, Freed from the Real, Hanger Scrounger, same stuff as Perplex, really. But the idea is we have a ton of search. We can almost always get a card that we need, and then get out of a Brainstorm lock. That's a big upside. It's a real big upside, you know, being able to play Brainstorm. Right, Treasure Cruise is great. All the blue decks can play Treasure Cruise, but they can't all play Brainstorm. So we have an extra draw 3, basically. These are our Dread Return support cards that we touched on. 2 unearthed spells, Combat Courier, First Sphere Gargantuan, along with Viscera Dragger, which was also a cycling spell from earlier. Basking Root Walla just comes in for free during the Seeker Scrounger combo. So along with Hanger Scrounger, you'll probably get a free Basking Root Walla. You only need 1 more creature. So for 1 blue, you can Combat Courier. Or for 2 and a black, you can First Sphere Gargantuan to make your 3rd creature. Get a free card out of the deal. Or for 1 and a black, you can Viscera Dragger. If you have no other creatures. If you have nothing else except for your Seeker and your Hanger Scrounger. But, you know, if you have 1 extra, right, you're already getting 2 freebies in Hanger Scrounger and Basking Root Walla. So it's not, we don't have to go too deep on the unearth. You know, it's not like we have to go looking for unearthed spells, right? This is plenty. It's proven to be plenty. I even don't love Combat Courier. It's just like a nothing card, right? It's a bad cantrip with unearth. You know, I guess for 6 mana you could draw 2. Yeah. That's not good in a deck that's bragging about being able to play Brainstorm. So, meh. our protection package, we have 9 blue interaction pieces. Miscalculation has cycling, that's its upside. It's not a great counterspell like Perplex, right? It only works at certain points in the game, but it's a counterspell with cycling, so it's a cantripy counterspell. That's the base level goodness, right? Negate necessary, sort of like Muddle the Mixture, but can hit a few more things. You really want to watch out for like relics. They can be tough. I mean, unless you go, yeah, if you see a relic, then you're kind of locked into going for freed from the reel until you can get the relic out of there. But you know, you can negate a relic. It's fine. Dispel is usually combo protection. 1 blue, 1 extra blue mana gives you some protection, right? You know. So once in the tournament, I tried to combo off, and I had 2 protection spells. I had Dispel and I had Arcane Denial, and the mana to use them. Unfortunately, I needed 3 because each player in the pod had 1. One guy to my left cast a counter spell. The next guy cast a counter spell. Is, you know, Arcane Denial, Dispel, and then the third guy was like, "All right, I guess I'll snuff out," which was, I didn't have anything for that. So, but the idea is, you know, you have plenty of mana usually, so having these cheapish interaction pieces can keep you alive. Arcane Denial, Memory Lapse, Intervene, they're all the same. You know, they counter spells, right? Into the Royal and Echoing Truth are for problem permanents. Relic of Progenitus. Somebody played Night Soil. That was weirdly effective against me. Exiling creatures from my graveyard. You know, I'm trying to trigger a Songs of the Damned, and this dude's just playing 1 to get rid of 2 creatures. That's brutal. So problem permanents. Echoing Truth can also deal with like Third Path Iconoclast, tokens, and stuff from like Wrath or whatever. You know, it's just, you know, they're good. They're good cards. Echoing Truth has a certain amount of upside, not a ton, but Into the Royal can be a cantrip if you have enough mana. Yeah. You know, there's also like Blink of an Eye, which is Into the Royal. You could run that instead, so you get another cantrip in the deck. Might be a thought. But the only weird one here is Mirrorshell Crab. Right? There's no Stifle. Like Stifle doesn't exist in the format. There's a handful of ways to like counter an ability, and Mirrorshell Crab is one of them. So it's good. I mean, people aren't gonna like hold up mana to activate their relic, right? And if you have Mirrorshell Crab, then that relic doesn't matter no more. You just counter that relic activation and you are good to go, because people will rely on it. They don't expect the Stifle. Nobody sees the Stifle coming. So they'll be like, "Oh, I have relic, you can't go off." And people will tap out, people will do their thing, and then they'll be like, you'll be like, "Oh, combo." Like, "Oh, relic." And you're like, Mirrorshell Crab. Everybody's like, "Oh, I just lose." Yeah, you do. You got stifled. Right, so that's like the ultimate gotcha. That's our miser right there. That's our one of fun of Mirrorshell Crab for the gotcha. Our draw package is extensive. 10 spells, plus all of our cyclers, plus all of our Into the Royals and Arcane Denials and all that stuff. So these are our 10 dedicated draw spells. You actually end up drawing with Lorien Revealed more than cycling, or at least I do. Because you loot so much, like getting lands is not a problem. And Lorien Revealed isn't a creature, so there's no upside to like throwing it away early if you don't have to. So, and drawing 3 cards in the mid to late game is way better than finding an island. Right, so we got Night's Whisper, draw 2, lose 2. We got some 1 mana, Preordain, Ponder. Git Probe is like a spicy, another like fun of, one of fun of. Not everybody's usually loaded down with counter spells, and if you have Git Probe, you just get a peek. You're like, "Oh, am I clear? Are you pretending to have counter spells?" And usually they're pretending to have 4. You know, a lot of times people have 1, right? Even though they're holding up a whole grip, right? Like, I thought this deck played a lot of counter spells. It only plays like 6 or 7, right? What are the odds you have multiple copies of a card that you have 6 or 7 of in your deck? Like, it's not high, it's not low, it's not high though. So Get Probe is sort of your like, check if the coast is clear move. Frantic Search is super dope. With the bounce lands, right? You can use Frantic Search to generate a bit of mana. Um, One fun thing that I got to do a couple of times was Frantic Search into Treasure Cruise. So for 0 mana, you get to draw 5 and discard 2. So good, right? I mean, you end up +1 card, but you saw 5 new cards. It spent no mana, so that's if you have 1 bounce land out there. If you have 2 bounce lands, then you're generating mana. You have +1 mana and you draw 5, discard 2 for 2 cards. So that interaction is wonderful. Impulse, instant speed, look at 4, pick your favorite. Deep analysis, you can flash it back. That's why it's there. And then Treasure Cruise, obviously we're looting. Our graveyard's always full. Treasure Cruise always costs 1. And then Brainstorm, as we touched on, is huge. Being able to get a full value out of Brainstorm just is everything. Ponder and Preordain are necessary evils. Sequencing of your cards is important. Getting things, if you get things too out of order, it can get clunky. So Preordain and Ponder, that just sort of smooth that out. Plus, it gives you something to do, right? If those were like bigger spells, or if those were like more ramp creatures, or even more looters, or more interaction, like you'd just be sitting there, right? Preordain and Ponder give you something to do. It's possible they should be more draw 2s at least, but for now they're fine. We don't want to go too deep into other colors. We want to keep it mostly blue to keep the mana good. And right now the mana, I love the mana. I had no mana problems at the tournament. 5 rounds, not a single mana problem. I mulliganed a lot, but I had no mana problems. Because it's just so heavily island based that if you draw an island, you're good. And there's not a lot of double pips. Right? Lorien Revealed is the only card with 2 blue on here. On this page right now. Right? There's 19 cards. This is a fifth of our deck. The only card with 2 pips is Lorien Revealed, and we can cycle it for any color. Right? Frantic Search untaps. Frantic Search can generate a color if you're set up right. So if you find an island, then everything else falls into place. Haste package. Just a couple haste cards. Bitter Reunion, 2-drop, can be searched up. Also a loot spell, right? Just good. You play it, you draw your cards, and then it just sits there for the rest of the game, just waiting to pop off, to end somebody's day, end everybody's day. Right? Tuk Tuk Rubble Fort is a little more in your face about it. All your creatures now have haste, but it's a 3-drop, can be searched up with Perplex, Drift of Phantasms. Defender and Reach is big too. There's only like 3 ways to block a flyer in the deck. Tuk Tuk Rubble Fort, Drift of Phantasms, and Generous Ent, I think. And 2 of those you don't really want to cast super much, so Tuk Tuk Rubble Fort is our only way to block flying tokens. If you end up playing against a bunch of flying tokens, right? Or any flyer really, like even if it's a big flyer and you have a Rubble Fort, like people will be apprehensive to attack. They don't want to waste an attack any more than you want your Tuk Tuk Rubble Fort to die. So it's like you end up in this weird game with your opponents where it's like you could get an attack through, but like, do you want to? Like, I'll probably just block, and I'll be out of Tuk Tuk Rubble Fort. You'll be out your turn, or you could go and maybe do some commander damage to somebody else, or actually hit somebody else. It's weird, and they do want to kill the Tuk Tuk Rubble Fort because that's scary. That line of text: creatures you control have haste is scary, but it's not like game ending on its own, right? You can just let that happen and then deal with the thing that has haste directly, probably. But no, Tuk Tuk Rubble Fort's awesome. It was one of the MVPs of the weekend. Bitter Reunion I didn't get to cast, but I know Bitter Reunion is good. Bitter Reunion is good in Rocco, right? It's a cantrip, so it's base level good. and then it can potentially give everything haste. And even just like giving a looter haste, letting a looter do its thing, the turn it comes down is so much better than a looter that has to wait a whole turn cycle to do anything. So they're good. You could consider even more haste. Haste is great. I won the championship off of. I had Tug Tug Rubblefort out, and they let it live, and then I played Tidewater Minion and Hanger Scrounger in the same turn. It's great. So good. And this is our recursion package, Reaping the Graves. I mentioned before, you kind of like sit on it. You let, hope for like a counter war somewhere else, and then you just sneak in a Reaping of the Graves. Get 4 creatures back. Some of them have cycling. Some of them are combo pieces. Some of them are looters, etc., etc. And you generate cards with it that way. Reclaim lets you get a specific card back. Maybe somebody wants to exile your graveyard, but you want your Seeker Skybreak, so you can reclaim. Unearth is medium. It has cycling, so it's base level good. And it can get back both halves of the combo. So, I mean, it's good. It reads better than it plays. Admittedly, I came away thinking, like, Unearth is a cuttable card. But it reads good. It does good stuff, and it is a good card, right? It's just the timing is weird on it, You have to have tried to combo, right? And you can't just like unearth Seeker Skybreak. You have to get the Hanger Scrounger back in your hand, or flickered, die, bring it back from the graveyard, cast it again. Like you can't just like unearth Seeker. Maybe they kill the Hanger Scrounger. That would be nice of them, but it doesn't always work that way. And Tortured Existence is a card that I really like. It's clunky like Unearth for the same reasons. The timing can be weird, but Tortured Existence offers you like a sort of shotgun, right? You can just play Fuming Effigy if you have Tortured Existence. And if you have a creature in your graveyard and a creature in your hand, then you can deal 1 damage for every black mana you have. So Songs of the Damned could be like, pay 1 black, deal 10 to everybody. It's pretty good. It can also just get combo pieces back from the yard. It's a good card. Get transmute creatures back specifically. Like, it has a lot of good applications, potential applications. I got to play it once. It was destroyed immediately because it's a scary card. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not mad about somebody blowing up my Tortured Existence either. Like, if they're going to burn removal on a Tortured Existence, then that means that there's less removal for the cards that are actually going to win the game. So I like it, but it's admittedly has a bit of clunkiness to it. And this is sort of our etc. section, right? Simian Spirit Guide and Lotus Petal are our mana. If you go off with Seeker, Skybreak, and Hanger Scrounger, and you have no mana available, that's a problem because you need at least 1 mana for Felden's Cane. So you need a couple of ways to generate a free mana. Simian Spirit Guide and Lotus Petal are the only ways to generate a free mana in Pauper. There's no Elvish Spirit Guide. So we play both of them just in case you want to use one. Then you can have access to the other. Lotus Petal is much better than Simian Spirit Guide in this regard because Lotus Petal can cast Songs of the Damned. But if you Simian Spirit Guide for a Felden's Cane, then Lotus Petal's probably back in your library now, so you can get it again. So Lotus Petal, definitely to catch Songs of the Damned. Whiteout operates as like a draw X, where X is the number of snowlands you have, because you can sack a snowland, put Whiteout back in your hand, discard it to Seeker Scrounger, draw a fresh card. Right, so Whiteout's back in your graveyard, sack another land, Whiteout comes back, discard it, draw a card. So you find Whiteout, like you start comboing off, you have like 2 cards in hand. Well, you need like 3, 4, or 5 at least, right? You want a lot of cards so that you can hold on to some good stuff. And so you hit Whiteout. Whiteout gives you that infusion of 4, 5, or 6 cards that you need, so you don't have to roll over a bunch of good stuff, and you're off to the races. Gush does the same thing, right? It puts 2 islands plus 2 fresh cards into your hand. I don't like Gush. I'm going to be honest. Gush can go. You only need 1 of these. I only ever used Whiteout, and I never felt like I wanted to Gush naturally. Like, I never wanted to just Gush in a game. I didn't want to bounce 2 islands. I didn't want to pay 5 to draw 2. Like, I get the idea. You could cut white out, then you can cut the snow lands, because that's why you have a snowman base. You cut white out, cut the snow lands, maybe your mana base gets better, and you can use Gush for this effect. But whiteout's just better at it. Whiteout does the thing better, especially because it can get 6 cards instead of 4. It doesn't offer you anything in the middle of the game, right? You can't just like be like, oh, I'm gonna use whiteout to draw 2. That's not an option. So it does not have the base level goodness, but it's a much better combo piece. So going forward, I'm definitely going to be running whiteout without Gush. And lastly, we're looking at our mana base, which we just touched on. It's a snow. It's a mostly snow, but we're gonna start with these are like our rainbows and utilities. Path of Ancestry, because it's good. Get a free scry off of our golem. Command Tower, obviously. Ash Barrens is another search card, so that makes 14. Mystic Sanctuary, because we play 12. 15 total islands, so Mystic Sanctuary is pretty often going to hit. Crystal Grotto and Conduit Pylons are not great necessarily, but as I touched on, there's very few like double pip cards, so we don't have to worry too much about the add colorless part. It can filter for other colors, which is an upside because we don't always have to use all of our mana. And they have it's just like an extra little bit. It's just a bit, just a little scry, right? Just a little scry from our mana base. Yeah, just to keep the engine going, right? Just to grease the wheels a little bit. A scry or a surveil. I mean, Conduit Pylons is way better than Crystal Grotto, but just a little bit, keeps. You need that. Like we would play a lot of these if we could. If there were more of these surveil options available, we'd be playing them. This is a really good card, Conduit Pylons. We play 3 bounce lands, the blue ones, right? Because blue is featured. I run a Maestro's Theater. This could be like an Evolving Wilds or whatever. This is our 15th search card, if you will. But it gains a life, right? As I touched on, probably 20 minutes ago at this point, my life total just faded away, right? There were a lot of games where I got down to it, and it's like, well, I could try and combo off, but as soon as I do, somebody else is just going to kill me. There was a Slimefoot player, and I could just sack 2 Saplings and end me. In the championship, I was at 6, and he had 4 Saplings, so like I was this close to just not winning, right? Just because my life total disappeared. So Maestro's Theater is like the only bit of life gain in the deck, and I think I need a little bit more, right? But that's why I went with Maestro's Theater over like an Evolving Wilds. Just, sometimes 1 life can get you 1 extra turn, and that's all you need. So that's what it was there for. And we've got, 5 snow duels, mostly blue, little red-green, little red-black. We don't want a lot of red. It's only really like Hanger Scrounger and Bitter Reunion and Tuck Rubble Fort. Like, we don't want a lot of red. But we don't want a lot of anything, right, to that end, except for islands. So we don't run the full. What do you get? You get there's a 6th one. There's a black-green Woodland Chasm or something we could play. We don't run that one. You don't even really need Highland Forest and Sulphurous Mire if you want to run more basics, or you have some more fun of utility lands you want to play. They're not. I didn't think that they were necessary because I never had mana problems. 5 games, no mana problems. I'm cutting duels, man. I actually had more times where I looked at, like, I drew a card. It was a tap land. I was like, ugh. Then I was like, I need a tap land, and I never land cycled for a tap land because I never had mana problems. So 5 games is a small sample set. It's not enough to be like, cut them all, but I'm heading towards cutting at least 1, maybe 2 of these tap lands, right? Because we got 3, that's what, 4, that's 9, 10 at least. Mystic Sanctuary is like 10.5. Ash Barrens is like 11 and 11. You know, count that as a half tap land. It's like 11 tap lands. You know, you get that down to 8 or 9. That might be way better. Just so you don't get stuck. And then just the basics. 10 islands, 3 swamps, 2 forests, 1 mountain. Like I said, it's almost all islands, and there's almost no like double pips. There's definitely no double pips outside of blue. I'm pretty sure. I don't want to. I think Jenner's in it. I don't know. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but the mana is surprisingly good for 4 colors. Right? We play our lands. I mean, just, you know, as long as you find an island, you're good. You're going to be able to draw cards. You're going to be able to play your looters. You know, you want to find an island, then you want to find a forest, so you can play your ramp spells. And then you want to start finding combo pieces. And you don't need to be too cute with it, right? You don't need to cut a bunch of these basics for more duels to make sure you get your colors, because you might play an entire game and never need red mana. Right? You might just find a mana dork and then never need red. Never need a mountain. Or a volatile fjord. You might never need it. Like, you probably won't need it even. Right? Between Crystal Grotto, Conduit Pylons, Command Tower, Path of Ancestry, the 1 mountain, the 3 mana dorks, like, you probably won't ever have to worry about going to get a volatile fjord. You know, it's there as an option, but I wouldn't sweat it. I wouldn't sweat the mana base at all after the games that I've played. I'm not sweating the mana base. You know, if anything, I'm looking to cut some tap lands for either some untapped utility lands, maybe Mystic Sanctuary style, or maybe I wish there were more Conduit Pylon style ones, but, you know, other weird stuff that you can crop rotation for, maybe. I'm not sure, but I'm definitely not interested in just playing more tap duels, right? Maybe a tap utility land would be better. I'm not sure, but I did not need any more tap duel lands. You know, we played 31 lands. We got 16 basics. We want our lands untapped because we're already kind of behind the sticks because we got to play weird stuff like 3 mana looters. And we got to transmute to find our combo pieces because, you know, we can't just like win a fair game of Magic. There's no way we're gonna go to combat and win a game. So yeah, that's my plans for the mana base, is to cut some of these dual lands, these tap duels for some more cute stuff. I mean, I think getting kind of cute with it is the move. I think you want to get. I think you need to squeeze out as much value as you can wherever you can. Like, I think Maestro's Theater is probably not the right card, but I need some life gain somewhere, so I don't know. You know, Maestro's Theater will probably come out. Probably Sulphurous Mire. And we'll find some other cute duels, cute things we can crop rotation for. You know, is Mortuary Mine the right card? Maybe. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I know I had Sajiri Step in there when we were still playing white. Like, that's a decent one. Gives your crop rotation a little extra value. But yeah, I think squeezing this, trying to squeeze every bit of this deck for as much upside as you can is where you want to be, because, like I said, it's full. It's full. You don't have like room to play like cards that are just basic lands. Like, we got 16. I could cut the tap duels for more basics, but you haven't made the deck better necessarily, right? Right. That might not have an impact at the level we're looking for. You know, maybe that's eventually the right call, but that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for cards, looking for something that can have an outsized impact. You know, something that can make the deck better than the sum of its parts, right? Something that can really tie the room together, to use a bunch of cliches about what I'm looking for. Yeah. So that's Combo Robot. It's a Composite Golem 4-color Seeker Scrounger combo. Be sure to like, share, comment. Let me know what you think. You see the QR code right there. There's the link to Moxfield. All this stuff will be in the description. One thing, the Moxfield link, the deck on Moxfield has a primer that you can read. It's not quite as extensive as this hour-plus minute deck tech, but it does have all the information in there. Yeah, let me know. It's a lot of fun. Give it a try. Let me know your thoughts. I'm trying to crowdsource some information here. That worked when I was building Rocco. You end up hitting a wall, and then somebody, you get a couple dozen people looking at it, and they go, "Oh, did you think of this card?" I go, "No, I didn't think of that card. Didn't know that card existed." And that's everything. Things I've tried, I've tried like a wizard package, because Vidalcan Aether Mage has flash, right? So you can mystical teachings for it. Then you can go get any wizard. There's a couple good wizards. I tried it. It's clunky. There's a couple good wizards, but there's not like a lot of really good wizards. They're all just looters, right? Really, it's looters and Archaeomancer kind of things. Wirewood Herald is an option, but you probably want to run more elves. We touched on the Basking plus Sadistic Glee combo, which might find its way in here, just being another 2-card combo that goes infinite with our commander for mana of any color. I mean, the other green adapt card is probably going to find its way in here too. The Witness, because we're always pulling cards out of our graveyard, so. Yeah, I'm looking. Hit me up. Let me know. Send a message. Comment on the deck. Comment on the video. Hit me up on Twitter at Dagic09. All right. Have a good one, y'all.